Welcome to the Metal Prognosis. My name is Lee, and on today's video, we're going to help spruce up this little Marshall DSL amp here. Now, these are really good amps. They get some pretty good sound out of it, but let's give it a little bit of assistance this video. And how we're going to do that is we're going to be using an EarthQuakers device for it. Before I show you what it is, it's got a really cool artwork on the front, which I like. And it comes in a decent sized box, which marries up with the fact that the pedal itself is a decent size. The Palisades pedal. This pedal does quite a few different things. So what we're going to utilize with this pedal on this amp is we're going to set this amp to clean and try get this pedal to do most of the work for us. So this pedal mainly is an overdrive pedal. So we're going to get our dirty sound from this. But what makes it so amazing, from what I can see, is it's got a boost element. So it can help boost the signal. Like you might have seen my other videos where I used a 33 Fortin pedal on my Savage Drive to help get a boost. It has 2 levels of gain, which is cool. So you can switch between them both. So you can maybe set up a lead and a rhythm channel with it. And if anyone's seen any of my other videos, one of my biggest frustrations when it comes to some pedals is the lack of options. A prime example is a pedal that's just got a tone knob and that's it. I don't like that. I like lots of options. And this does not shy away from that. It has different voicings on it. It has 5 different band widths that you can use to really home in on what frequencies you want to emphasize and work through. It's got a normal and bright switch. And it's got a buffer. Not sure what it buffers, but we'll turn it on and off later on and see what it sounds like. So I'm going to go set this all up. So I'll get this cabinet in the other room and set up with my 2 mics. We'll dial in a nice clean tone just with this Marshall. I'll put a little camera to this and we'll see what dirty tones we can dial in and see what we can really transform this Marshall from and to. And just to give it a little bit more of an extra bit of spice, I'm going to use my 7-string guitar which is in drop G tuning, because I feel like the lower the tuning the guitar goes, the harder it is to control the sound and to get a nice defining distortion sound from. So let's put it fully to the test and get the toughest situation with the guitar to see if we can get the best results from it. And like all my videos, we always have a bit of a jam. So after we come up with the sound, I'll do a bit of a jam, play through, and then at the end we'll all share our final thoughts with it. So let's see how this little bad beast is going to match up with this Marshall amp. Now we have everything set up ready to go. Got my 7-string here. I've mic'd up my cabs in the other room. Or my one cabinet with 2 speakers. And with the Marshall, I've set it just on a clean channel and I've set all the EQ parameters on neutral. So when I mean neutral, I mean like high noon, like straight up. So I'm not adding any more or not taking any away. Just to leave it kind of as neutral as possible to give the pedal a chance to really show how much it can change with it. Yeah, so it's on the clean channel, not on the ultra gain, which is normally what I like to put this amp through. So here's the sound that we've got coming through before we actually engage anything. So the signal should be a little bit quiet because, yeah, I've got a funny feeling that's going to really, well, it's got a boost option, so it should really push that into the next gear. So this is what it sounds like before anything else. It's not much, it's just clean. And that's not what we're here for. So First thing we do is we push the activate button, and I don't think we should get anything. Yeah, because we've got the gain right down. So when you just activate it, the gain A is automatically turned on. And if you push the button here, that engages a second gain, which is that second knob. Pretty straightforward. So let's put this on high noon and see how it sounds. I think we need more. Not too bad. Let's turn the buffer on because that should clean it up. Night and day. Night and day. That's sounding decent already, and we've hardly touched it. But don't skip forward yet because we've got a lot more experimenting to do. So let's give it a little bit more gain, because why not? All right, not too bad. So let's see all the other things we have. So we've got a normal and bright. Let's see how that sounds. So it's set normal. Turn bright. Yeah, it definitely gives it more of a, it's like a boost, but it's already got a boost. But it definitely emphasizes the higher frequencies, which is really cool. So let's go through all the other stuff. So let's go through the voicing and see what we've got. So let's go to voicing 2. Voicing 3. Next one. Volume drop there, but that's nor here or there. More of a volume drop. More of a volume drop. All right. So let's go, I don't know, let's go, what's that one there? 4? That's not wow yet, so let's add in the boost and see what we get when we boost this one up. Night and day. Night and day. All right, so now that's just a boost set at noon. So let's boost it more. Really crank it. Yeah, the boost is really cool. So let's go through a couple of the voicings now with the boosting gauge. So let's start at the lowest one and see what we get now. Yeah, much better. Keep on moving it around. So the first voicing there seems to be the most saturated. Compared to the next one. Which is really cool. So before I move on to the bandwidth, let's just have a quick chat about this one. So just going between voicings 1 and 2, because this is really interesting. So the more saturated one, if I were to play some riff, like a stop-start type of chug, where it's... We move on to the second one. So the second one seems to, I feel like you can hear more of the string element, as in the physical guitar string, where the first one is overly saturated. So they're both really cool and really heavy, but the second one, depending on what sound you want to go for, you can really utilize the type of strings that you have to get the good twang out of your guitar tone. Yeah, you can get that nice twangy push with the accented notes. Which you still can a little bit with the first voicing, but the second one really emphasizes that more, which is really cool. You can get both different type of characteristics out of the one pedal that are both really cool, but also very, very different. So let's move on to the bandwidth section to see what extreme change we have. So we'll stay on the saturated one for now, and then we'll move on to the second one, because I feel like they're the best two comparisons with the different voicing options. So we've got it on bandwidth 1. All right, so more bottom end coming in. A lot more bottom end. Is this going to be more bottom end? Yes. This is going to be extreme bottom end now. That's a lot of bottom end. So that's starting to break up the sound a little bit with this lower tuning. Not as bad as most other pedals. Normally, not so much normally, but with a lot of other pedals, if you got this type of frequency running through, you wouldn't be able to identify what notes and what chords you're playing. Where I feel like this is just on the cusp where you still can, which is very, very cool. But let's go back to 1. And let's go into the second voicing now and run through the bandwidth. Because it's got more of that bite to it, a little bit more of like a blade type of vibe. I'm curious to see how the bandwidth's gonna, like how it's gonna work together. So let's run through it. So next one. Next one. So cool. Next one. That is gnarly. Let's keep pushing it along. All right, that's the last one for that. You kind of get like a bit of a fuzz effect, but just with the bottom end, not with any of the top end. So that register of the guitar and frequencies aren't affected. That is so cool. And what a pretty powerful little device to be able to do that, to be able to divide them up. So you can still keep your highs as they are, but still keep that bottom boom if you were going for that. So dial it back a bit because something like this is really cool with a lower tuning guitar, because depending on the bass player, if the bass player likes to have their bass either very MIDI, as in mid-range emphasized, or like to add a lot of distortion, a lot of effect, and they might lose a lot of their bottom end from their bass. This is where the guitars can really come in to fill in that void, to let the bass have its own characteristics, but still the overall dynamics have their enough low end to fill in all the gaps that are needed. Got a little bit lost of where I was going. But as we speak about, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you made when you're chasing a tone, it's just about finding the tone. Sounding really cool. What else is there really to try on this? I think it's just a matter of, I really like voicing 1 and 2. So let me just... Oh, hello, Piper. Coming to join in the fun, are you? Cool. What I'm going to do is take away a bit of time from the camera at the moment, compose a little bit of a jingle, a little bit of a jam. Then I'm going to play through it with my little Brady Bunch setup like I like to do with all my different takes and different windows. But I'm actually going to do that twice, because I think this pedal I could do 10 or 20, most likely, all the different settings and all the different comparisons we can create. But I'm going to do it with the voicing 1 and 2, because just with this little playthrough that I've done, they were the two big standouts that were also very, very cool in their own regards, but also very, very different. So I'll play through the same song twice, one with voicing 1, one in voicing 2, and then we can have a little bit of a comparison between them and have a bit of a talk. And yeah, I'm keen to see which one. I mean, they both sound really good, so I don't know which one's going to be better or worse, or if there's a right or wrong answer with this. I don't think there really is. But it's just going to be fun doing and having chat about it afterwards. So yeah, I'll definitely do that. And then, yeah, we'll meet on the other side and have a talk about what we think about the overall thing. So sit back, enjoy the little jam, and I shall see you all on the other side. Good girl, Piper. time for my final thoughts on the Palisades by EarthQuakers Device. So firstly, before I touch base with this, I will confess the Marshall clean sound on its own, not a big fan of. This amp does have a lot of different characteristics to it, which is really cool, but it's straight clean, I don't like. So if I was ever going to use this live or for a recording session or rehearsal, I'll definitely would prefer to have some pedal or something else to help clean up and make better, not really clean up, add better sparkle to its clean, for lack of a better description. Because I just think, no, it's just a bit, this amp is very warm, and I think its clean tone is just a little bit too warm for my liking. So if someone came to me and said, this is all you've got to work with, and I said, that's all right, I'll bring out this, the Palisades, awesome. I'd have no problem with it at all. Using this with this Marshall amp to help really bring this alive and bring this to the next tier. Now, in saying that, nothing against this amp, and its ultra gain settings on this are spectacular. You know, if I put more presence in there and mucked around with the EQ a lot more, I know I have in the past and can get a really cool distortion sound out of this. So please, nothing against this Marshall amp, but to really help make this shine, yeah, putting it on the bland setting of clean to really see how far we can push it with this. So let me run through all this little funky thing. So firstly, the buffer on and on, that helped really clean it up and give a lot stronger signal coming through into the studio while we recorded it, which was an amazing feature. The normal to bright little switch, brightening it up, it kind of felt like a presence boost, for lack of a better term. So normally the presence that you get on an amp here that I love kind of cranking, this seemed to emulate that really well. Not really emulate it, but that was its effect. The boost was amazing because that really gave it that really punch that I love in my distortion. The gain and the actual overdrive element that this had was how's best to describe it? It was solid, but it really shined in its different voicings, I feel. So as much as the gain was really cool and you could get, let's say, decent sounds out of it, those decent became spectacular once you added the different voice attributes to it. Now, we only dealt with the first two voicings because I felt like they were really different enough, but also really solid. But you could delve in a bucket load with this, with the 6 different voicings it had, because they were all different enough from each other where you could really explore and be really creative with it, which is amazing, really. The bandwidth really, I think it really helped cater quickly for what different frequencies you really wanted to home in on. I felt like the higher it went, the more bottom end dynamics and low mids really came into action. So with my guitar tones, I don't really like that much bottom stuff, but it's really cool. Say, for example, if you're playing in standard tuning, in E tuning, or in drop C, which I feel is like the modern standard tuning in a lot of metal. Yeah, you could really push the bandwidth a lot higher to get those bottom end dynamics, to get a lot more grunt out of your guitaring. Where, because we're already playing in a lot deeper tuning in today, I felt like adding a little bit was nice, but I didn't want to go over that before I really felt like the bottom dynamics started breaking up too much and started becoming a little bit too fuzzy. So yeah, I just kept it on 2 out of 5. And I don't know what exact frequencies they represent, but also I don't mind that I don't know, because sometimes it's best not to know and just to follow your ears and change your settings and kind of feel it as you're going along rather than getting stuck into the specs and seeing exactly what frequencies you want to dial in manually, for lack of a better term, rather than dialing it physically and just feeling it as you go along and really capturing that vibe, rather than trying to capture the maths of it. So yeah, now let me have a quick chat about the jams. So the two jams I did, we'll nickname them saturated and dry, just so we can differentiate between them. And hopefully I remember this so I can add that to the two different video takes. So the saturated version for voicing 1 on this was, I liked it. I liked them both straight off the bat. So let me just say that straight off to start this off. The saturated version was really cool. It definitely added how can I really describe it? The distortion seemed to emphasize more in the effect while I was playing. Playing the last section of the little jam, I felt like it blended too much in with the mix, and you kind of lost a little bit of the individuality of the guitar. So it fitted in better with the mix, so to speak, but you lost its individual characteristics of it. Not a bad thing. It didn't lose it enough where I felt like it was drowning in the mix, where it was extremely hard to hear, like what happens sometimes when something's oversaturated and over blends in and kind of mushes in too much with the mix. I don't feel like this did this. I still felt like it sat in nicely, but yeah, it definitely did mold in just a little bit too much for my liking, but not too much where I felt it was a negative, if that makes sense. So if that was like the final mix that someone gave me, and let's say I was dealing with another engineer and they said, oh, let me hear that mix, I wouldn't think it was ruined at all. I'd be like, it's nice. Not 100% my cup of tea, but not far enough where I'll be like, ooh, no. Still really, really good. But with the dry setting or the raw setting at number 2, I can't remember what I named it. I'm going to kick myself when I do the editing. But the dry setting for number 2, I felt like it popped more. So it had less of a distortion characteristic compared to the saturated version, but I felt like you could hear the guitar better, and it had a little bit more of a rawer touch. So you could hear the strings a lot better, which I think I spoke about while we dialed it in. But it definitely popped more in the mix. So especially in the last part, you could hear more of the grind, and it's a little bit more of a harsher guitar tone overall compared to the first one. So how could I explain it? So it had less distortion, but I feel like it had a more brutaler effect because of it. Because the playing and the little pops and the accents that it gave in my playing really came to life more, especially in the very opening riff in it, where I was doing more of a black metal inspired riff, where I felt like it really gave it more anger and a little bit more brutal, but it wasn't as heavy as the saturated patch that we dialed in together. So more brutal, but less heavy, which happens a lot with guitar tones, a lot. Happens with every single guitar tone that you dial in and you do, where if you play it isolated by itself, it's going to sound completely, it's not going to sound completely different. It's going to act completely differently in a full band situation where you have the bass and the drums and when you start doubling up on the guitars. So the saturated version sounded a lot better by itself if you just have it isolated. But the second one, the raw version, or the dry one, sounded a hell of a lot more effective in the mix. if that makes sense. Hopefully I've explained myself well. But yeah, overall, I had a tone knob here, but I didn't even touch the tone. I don't think I really needed to. I think everything else, the voicing and the bandwidth, did enough to really cater for what we'll, not what we're after, but to showcase it and to give it a crack. Next time I touch it, I might touch that tone knob to see how it reacts. Normally, I'm not a big fan of tone knobs because I prefer a full EQ spectrum of low, mids, and highs. And I was probably so excited with the bandwidth and the voicing that, I definitely overlooked the tone knob. So if anyone watch this video, see how the tone knob reacts, I apologize. I did not attention that whatsoever. So yeah, definitely leave your angry feelings in the comments because I deserve it. Deserve a bit of slack for that. My overall conclusion is this changed the Marshall amp immensely, absolutely immensely. The sounds that we're getting out of this were worlds apart from what you could get just from the Marshall amp by itself. So this is definitely an amp changer. If you really want to take it to the next tier, this is definitely does the trick. So yeah, really, really excited about this, and I'm keen to put it through my other amp heads to see how it reacts to those as well, which I will definitely be doing in future videos. So if you definitely enjoyed seeing how this reacts with the Marshall, definitely keep your eyes out on my channel on other things, other amp heads that I'm going to match this up with. So in saying that, hopefully I've shared enough of my thoughts in a very dysfunctional and blabbering manner. But the most important thing that I love about these videos and my main inspiration about doing these videos is for the conversation. So what are your thoughts? How did you feel when I turned this on and started putting it all together? So the heaps of different options means there's heaps of questions. So how did you feel about the boost when I put it on and put it off? Do you think that gave it too much of a push and lost a little bit too much of its characteristics? Or do you think it was more necessary? Or do you think they're just two different things? How did you feel about the gain, the overdrive aspects of this pedal? How do you feel about all the different voicings? Do you feel like the two that I chose quickly for the jam was a good idea? Or do you feel like I should have done a little bit more and delved into the other characteristics of the other 3 to 6 options I have here? How do you feel about the actual bandwidth aspect of it? Do you feel like I found something nicer, or we should have gone a little bit more of balancing between this bandwidth and maybe mucking around some EQ on the Marshall here to try to find that nice little balance there, because that would absolutely change the overall sounds. The normal and bright, did you feel like that was, I jumped on that far too quickly and should have maybe explored more with the normal and the bandwidth, or maybe see the normal with the different voicings there? Yeah, how do you feel about it overall? How do you feel about the two different jams? Which one did you prefer? Or do you prefer both of them? I prefer both of them. You're happy with both of them. And just as with myself, just like the two different variances between them. Like most of my videos, I just want to know everything that you feel about this. All of it. The color, the design, the fancy box, all of it. So in saying that, I'll do my sign off now, because yeah, I definitely have babbled on enough. So whether this video is in the foreground or the background, I absolutely appreciate your company and being a part of this conversation. So please leave any comments below of what you feel or what you want to share in regards to this piece of device, this EarthQuakers device. And any other thoughts you have about the Marshall or this video, how I dialed it in or how I did it or how am I jammed. You point out all my mistakes, that's fine. I don't mind you doing that either. Or if you feel like you want to talk about other things than that, I'll leave my Facebook link in the description below too, where you can contact me there and we can talk about gear or music, or if you've got any other thoughts or ideas. If you know anyone else that would like these type of videos or feel like they would get something out of these type of conversations, please let them know I exist. so I can help this channel grow and become something more. And the more I chat with you all, the more ideas I have to how to shape these channels and what else I can actually do with it. So yeah, please keep chatting with me and keep talking with me, because yeah, it definitely, I get really excited when you've got an idea that I can help cater with and bring to life. So yeah, definitely keep those comments and keep chatting away with me, because I thoroughly enjoy it. And yeah, I look forward to chatting with you all next time. So until next time, please stay safe.